Hi, I'm Josh. I'm a flame worker, glass blower. I'd like to give you a little bit of a tour of my shop, show you some of my materials and tools, and then work on a project. This is where I keep the majority of my color. I guess you could call it my palette. There's about 3 major manufacturers of glass. Most of it comes in colored rod. Some of it comes in colored tube. I also use a variety of clear rod stock that goes from larger to smaller, same with clear tubing. Up above me is my kiln. This is what I use to anneal my glass and make my finished product as strong as it can be. I also use it to keep projects that I'm working on hold so that I can put them directly back into the flame. Next to it is kind of a cluster station where I store tools that I'm not using currently. I store material that I've got pulled down into a more workable size, ready to go. As I transition over, I've got some works in progress and the station that I first started out on with my small torch called a Lynx. As I go around, I've got another table where I break down prep material. I store some glass powders called frit. And over here is my main bench. Let's go ahead and just cut it for a second. This is my main torch that I work on currently called a Mirage. It has a smaller inner torch surrounded by a larger outer torch so that I can run them individually via a foot pedal and not have to use my hands to adjust some of the 6 knobs back here to control it. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up and show you what it does. I just turned on the propane on my small inner torch. I'm going to start introducing oxygen slowly. The introduction of oxygen allows for complete combustion so we don't get any carbon buildup or anything like that and get a really efficient hot torch. My inner flame is very adjustable down to a teeny little pinpoint flame. On the other hand, it can go fairly large. And then when I need additional heating, I can use my foot pedal and I'll throw on the outer fire of my Mirage. When I work on the torch, I use a special pair of glasses called titanium lenses. They have a mineral coating on them that blocks out a lot of the orange flare associated when I start to melt my material. I'm going to go ahead and get something out and show you a little demonstration of what my torch can do. I'm going to take this piece of tubing right here. I'm going to close up the end so that I can pressurize it with my mouth via this blow tube. And then I'm going to blow it into a ball. I'm going to condense it down and then I'm going to blow it out into a ball. I'm going to heat the very edge so that I can grab it with a rod of glass. I'll get my rod a little hot so that they can stick. When we use a rod like a tool like this, we call it a punty. I'm just going to grab the edges of that glass and I'm going to pull it down. As the glass condenses, it's a little uneven because of the way I pulled it off, so I'll get it hot and I'll give it just a little puff to even the walls out. Now I'm going to go ahead and condense this tube down into a smaller, thicker vessel ready to be blown out. I'm trying to apply my heat evenly. Get this whole 2/3 of this section hot. I'm going to give it another little puff to even it out. I'm going to heat it one more time. I'll let it cool, let everything get even temperature, continually spinning. And in the end, I should have a pretty good sphere. I'd like to show you what the difference that the titanium filters that are in my eyeglasses and that are on the camera do right now. So right now the filter is attached. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to temperature in the flame until the sodium begins to flare. You can see it just starting now, that orange glow. I'm going to go ahead and click on my outer fire. And as the heat increases and more gets molten, the sodium flares more. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a quick pause, and I'm going to remove the filter and do the same thing. So the filter's been removed. You can see how it makes it so that we can actually see what's going on in the center of this flame. Without it, it'd just look like a big orange mess. Alright, what I've done is I went and grabbed about a 15 mil rod out of the kiln. I've got this end heated up so that I can introduce it directly into the flame. It has a rough cut edge on it. When you got a rough cut edge, it always bubbles up and boils. And I can't have that in glass. It leaves scars and totally ruins the optical quality. So I'm going to reach in with a putty and I'm going to grab and clean off this material at the end. What I'm going to begin to do is, just like in the bubble demonstration, I'm going to begin to condense this glass down. When we condense down when we condense down solid material, we call it a gather. So what I'm getting is a gather of glass. Just like when a furnace worker reaches in and grabs a big chunk of glass to begin working with, that's also a gather. I want to try to keep, I'm constantly rotating so I can try to keep this ball rolling down on itself, pressing down, forming kind of a teardrop on the end. It's approaching the size that I want, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out my Mirage Fire and work on just the end here. Pull it out, let it cool. I'm going to let it hang and taper out a little bit. Keep rotating it so that it stays centered. I'm going to allow it to cool right now. After it's done cooling, I'm going to bring it back into the flame. I'm going to only introduce the front section. I'm going to get that front section hot. And then I'm going to press what's called a Maria. I'm going to press this into a flat plate on the end. Alright, I'm looking for a white glow on the tip. I just have a little bit of orange back here closer to the handle. That's going to give me resistance when I press out this very molten tip. And it's looking good, so I'm going to go ahead and go down to my graphite plate and press my Maria. I keep rotating, pressing down so that I get this on center. It's not too bad. Every time I make contact with a graphite tool or metal, it saps the heat out of the glass very quickly and leaves striations on the glass, which I polish back out with the flame. Remelt them down and smooth it out before I start applying any color. I'm going to go ahead and set this back in the kiln. Alright, I've turned my flame down quite small so that when I start applying my pattern of dots onto the back of this Maria, I don't boil them and I've got a little bit more control. I'm going to lay down a color that has a lot of metal in it. There's so much metal that when you break open the rod, there's actually little tiny strands of metal. What that's going to do is it's going to vaporize that metal all over the glass and give it this fumy, neat color when it's done. So first I'm going to go ahead and flash my Maria and get it all nice and warmed up. It came out of that kiln, but I want to give it a little bit more heat. To a certain heat glow, I'm going to start applying my dots. You can see the metal's burning out of that glass, the flame changing color. I'm going to try to keep these dots about the same size, about the same spacing, so that the pattern comes out consistent. Try to work fairly quick because as I'm applying these dots, the dots on the backside are cooling down. They're creating a stress point that'll crack my entire Maria in half. Anytime glass is put on glass and not welded in or melted in completely, it creates a stress point that needs to be addressed fairly quickly. I'm almost around on my first side. As soon as I complete this, I'm going to go ahead and flash my Maria again. Final dot. Flash. I'm actually doing a little bit more than flashing. I'm beginning to melt those in so that they don't create a problem. I'm going to switch colors. And I'm going to try to stagger these dots in between my others and begin another little ring. Alright, I'm going to switch hands and I'm going to begin to rotate and begin to condense this. What I'm looking for is a small divot to begin forming in the middle of this glass. It should be the opposite of a lens, or like a convex lens. I'm sorry, it's a concave lens. And as I'm doing that, the pattern is beginning to tighten. It's getting smaller and smaller. It's a slow process, and I just need to continually rotate and get this evenly molten. I'm going to go ahead and do a few more rotations, and I'm going to do my first press against my graphite to begin shoving this glass up inside of the lens. Continually rotating, press. Back to the flame. Put that heat back in that I just took away. If I were to stop right here, it would look pretty, but you really wouldn't get that impression that the colored glass is down inside the clear. Some of the colors that I've introduced need to be cooled and then reheated to bring out their final color. So I'm going to let this sit and cool. I'm going to flame strike it and put a backing on this. The backing is going to bring out the color. If there's nothing behind these dots, there's nothing to contrast them and they won't stand out. A few more moments of cooling. I've got a dark space under my desk where I can look for the glow to go away. Alright, I'm going to reintroduce it into the flame. And I'm going to stick it in my kiln and prepare to make a piece to back this with. I'm just looking for a nice even glow. And it's going in the kiln. Okay, I'm going to begin making my backing with this clear rod. I'm going to back it with black, but black is a very dense color. It requires a ton of heat to get to the soupy state that I want it to be when I mash it down flat to cover the back of that pattern that I made. So I'm going to take this black and I'm going to strip it down to clear, melt it in, and that way I have a less dense black. This would be a pretty good demonstration to show you what happens if I stop rotating my glass. I'm going to go ahead and reheat it. It's plastic now. It's almost molten. I'm going to go ahead and stop spinning. There it went. I'll bring it back on center real quick and cool it down properly. I'm going to reheat my backing, get it white hot. At the same time, I'm preheating my my clear pattern, and this will also be the final color stripe because this pattern is getting reheated again. I'm looking to build up a lot of heat into this black. Because when I put it down on the color, I want it to be able to mash down in one smooth movement. I'm about ready to make my connection. Keep spinning, squishing. I'm going to cut off the spare backing that I don't need. I'm going to begin pulling it away. As I do, I'm going to twirl it around to keep the glass from boiling. And I'm going to melt it in. Alright, now I have this pattern I just removed from the kiln. What I need to do is I need to transfer and put a punny on this end and a punny on this other end opposite so that I can begin to draw it out into my turtle body. I'm going to heat the side that I want to taper down. Turn my flame up a little bit, add a little bit more oxygen. And begin to establish a heat base inside this object. By establishing a heat base, I want it heated throughout. Not just super hot on the outside, but I want it hot all the way to the core so that I can get a nice even stretch. Almost ready. This is at least usually a two-part process to get the taper I want. We're almost there. I'm going to use my mashers. I don't know my mashers, but my masher. Polish out those tool marks again. And now I have a nice turtle core body to start building my flippers, my head. Okay, I'm going to take this prep cane that I've made for body attachments, and now I'm going to begin breaking it down into smaller sections to make the individual fins. Okay, I've taken that colored cane and I've broken it into 5 different segments for my various fins and head. I'm going to go ahead and start shaping these. The first step to shaping them is to mash them down flat. So I'm going to get this nice and hot. Just until it starts moving. Now I'm going to mash it on top of my marber. It's not shaped yet, but at least have the basics. Got a plain polish. I'm going to start my shaping with the one that's already hot. And attach up another handle so that I can apply pressure from the other side and pull it out. Heat the opposite side. About the bottom half of it. And again, stretching it down. Take my handle back off. They're not perfect, but in the final tugging, they'll work out quite well. Okay, I've got my turtle body. I'm going to go ahead and attach that front bridge section like I just did before. I need this to be a really solid connection because it's not going to get welded like the others. It's temporary. And immediately after this, I have my first fin. I'm going to go ahead and start heating where it's going to go and heating it. All this happens fairly quick now. Everything needs to go very right from here on forward though. This is where things tend to go south if they're going to. I'm putting more heat into the turtle body than I am the fin, so that when I pull it out, it comes out with the fin a little bit. I'm going to give it a little pull. Try to keep it steady while it gets solid. Looking for solid. As soon as I've got it, I'm going to go back and melt again on my handle and bring back to the top bridge. As soon as the top bridge is established, I'm going to grab my Smith torch and work on that body weld. I try to work fast right now because anytime when there's a attachment but it's not sealed on well, it's creating a stress point, and that's where a crack always originates from. Melting this all in like this, aside from giving it better structure, gives it just a better flow, which is so important for making things that live in the water. Okay, I'm happy with this, so I'm going to go ahead and run to the kiln real fast, and I'm going to grab my other front fin. I'm going to take off my bridge work and complete the piece.